It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
Ben Sutter with our intro, another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. The Louisville native Terry Brown in here, the Lynch, Kentucky native Vinny Hardy. Here we are, another episode, man. How we doing?
Doing good. I love how it says pertinent information, like we Shams and Woj. That may be overselling a little bit. I noticed that listening to the show from last week. I was like, pertinent. We're not breaking any news, but we're gonna talk about stuff. It's gonna be good. It's always good.
See, I put that on. Remember back when we was on Blog Talk, because you was talking about Blog Talk on Round the Shot Sunday, and I did those little with the Vista print and got the little business card. I think I put that on the little description, and so it's just been there ever since. It's just kind of stuck. So
we're gonna roll with it.
Pertinent. Maybe I was got a little.
It sounds good though. It sounds good. So we're gonna roll with it. We've been doing it for this long. Since the Blog Talk days. That's been some years ago. So we're gonna keep it going.
That'll work. We're trying to keep another good show going today. It's the off season for college basketball. It just ended for the men and the ladies in D1. Champions were crowned. The SEC held it down on the women's side. And then the Big 12 of all teams took it home on the men's side. We got Bradley B-Roll McKee coming in here in about 20, 25 minutes. Chop it up with him and whatever other stuff we get to, pertinent or non-pertinent, Shamdish, Wojciech, Ken Rosenthal, Adam Schefterish, whoever we want to be. We'll try to
just passing kind of stuff. We're gonna drop some behind the scenes knowledge on these folks to let them know, man.
I'm flexing too since the baseball season just finally started. And my team is still the champs. And the crown will go through Atlanta, so I had to come out with my little championship gear on today in honor of my Braves. So, had to do that. But we Coach K went home without a chip. Don Staley brought home a chip and sent Gino home with his first L. So that happened this past weekend.
First off, if you saw the numbers for the women's championship, ESPN/ABC/Disney's got to do a better job with the women. People want to watch these women play, and having it on ESPN, which is great. Put it on ABC. Give the women the same love that the men got for years and years, because you've got compelling stories. It's no longer top heavy like it used to be, where it was just Tennessee, just UConn. You've got other teams bubbling to the top, like a South Carolina. You've got great players on the women's side. And because the women have to stay in school, they're not going to the NBA, you get to learn who these players are over a 3 or 4 year period. As good as Caitlin Clark, as good as Paige Beckers, as good as Aaliyah, I'm going to say the wrong one, like Holly Rowe, at South Carolina,
Boston.
Leah Boston won. Yeah, they're there for 3 years. As good as those ladies were, they're coming back, and so you can build on that because that's what it used to be on the men's side. You'd see these guys as freshmen not do much. You see them as sophomores and juniors. It finally started clicking, and they gave you a good senior run. So you can do that on the women's side. So I would love to see ESPN. They want to be the worldwide leader. Let's do it on the women's side. Now, that being said, Coach Dawn Staley's got a juggernaut there. South Carolina's become the place to be. I think they only lost their 2 games by like a combined 3 or 4 points this year. Now, granted, one of those was to Mizzou, which may be the outlier of all outliers. When you look at just about any game a top team lost the last couple of years, and then losing to Kentucky in the SEC Women's Championship. but they are the standard bearers, and they're going to be right back again next year. They are reloading, as they say. It is also ridiculous to look at what Connecticut has done. I know this is Gino's first loss in the championship game, but UConn has done the unthinkable and surpassed Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we are starting to see on the women's side is kind of like the old NBA Eastern Conference, where you've got these dynasties, and if you're going to move into that position, you got to knock them out. Tennessee had to take on Louisiana Tech way back in those mid 80s, right? The Lady Texters that won, I think, 2 or 3 of those early women's championships. And then UConn had to come along and knock off Tennessee. And now South Carolina, with 2 championships in 4 years, the Gamecocks are trying to muscle in and be that next dynasty on the women's side. So,
and McKee has won, I think, 3 at Baylor, and she's at LSU now.
yeah.
Stanford's always been. Tara Vanderveer's been there 1,000
Yeah,
years.
she's got 3. Yeah, and there's been other teams. Notre Dame has won a couple. Skylar Diggins
forever. Muffet McGraw. I always chuckle at her name, but
yeah,
I think she won or won, but she was always right there.
Always in it. Yeah, and so, but that being said, now you're getting more upsets in the tournament like you get on the men's side.
Yeah.
As we saw, being Kentucky fans, with Princeton taking care of Kentucky, Creighton taking care of Iowa and Caitlin Clark in Iowa City. So you're getting that kind of unpredictability, which is what made the men's tournament the men's tournament.
The Davids are coming up on the women's side.
You used to have so much chalk. It was always, they had, I don't know how many Final Fours. It was all 1 seat or maybe a 2 seat. So I would love to see the women's game progress. It's beautiful to watch. My whole thing is, when it comes to women's basketball, I love basketball. Let me just say that. So you have to understand, with what you're watching, there's going to be differences. The NBA is different from college. The international game is different from the NBA. High school is different. The women's game is different than the men's game. So no, you're not going to see as much above the rim kind of stuff. But what you do see on the women's side is a lot of ball movement. There's not a lot of the one-on-one kind of isolation stuff that we do see on the men's. So it's a different, more free-flowing kind of game. Even when you've got superstars, it's not just, we're going to go 1 floor every time, 1 floor every time, and just clear out. There's a bit more to it. So I can appreciate all different levels of basketball. So congrats to Coach Staley and what she's doing there in Columbia. UConn will be back. UConn has reached that Tennessee, Alabama football. Like, they lost, but they'll be back. Until they go a couple of years without a Final Four run, then we might say, okay, what's going on? But they'll be back. Paige Beckers will be 100% healthy next year. They're going to bring in some recruits. And like we said,
I was just going to just the fact that, like you said, they lost. First time he lost in the championship game, and even though all those years head to head with Tennessee, whenever he met Pat Summitt in the championship, he beat her. And she won her 8, but she never got one against Gino. And I was wondering, I didn't look it up, and I don't know if there's a Corey Price for UConn. They trailed wire to wire against South Carolina. I'm like, man, has a Gino team ever trailed for an entire game? And basically, they played earlier in the season. It was close through 3 quarters. In the 4th quarter, South Carolina outscored them 16-3, 18-3, and ended up winning by 15. And they just kind of picked up where they left off in the 4th quarter when they played back in November, December, whatever it was. That was in Columbia. This, of course, was a neutral court. But so it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like South Carolina hit a half-court buzzer beater to beat them. They took Geno to the woodshed. So
Yeah, South Carolina was the best team wire to wire all year on the women's side. So that's one thing I think that the women's basketball has over the men is that if you've got a team that's head and shoulders above everybody, they usually win more so than on the men's side. We've seen so many teams on the men's side go into the tournament number one and not win.
yeah.
I want to say that Kentucky in 2012 might be the last time that an AP team has won like that. Uh, but with Stanford making it, that's a great program out there. That they've got defending champions. They won last year over Arizona.
And
Louisville making it.
And South Carolina was a missed layup away from maybe, winning it last year. Boston, we talked about it earlier. She missed a little bunny. And then, she even mentioned it. Y'all saw me crying last year, tears of sadness. Now it's tears of joy this year, Holly Rowe. And so, she was able to get that taste out of her mouth.
Oh, absolutely. So that's a storyline you can get because on the women's side, you get those teams that run it back.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see teams avenge losses in the tournament, come back and do it. Like, Duke getting their doors blown off by UNLV in 1990. When we all thought Coach K couldn't win the big one, and they come back and go back to back. It's like the debacle in '95, Kentucky against North Carolina, where Kentucky was the better team. They just were in '95. Don't get it done, and they come back and they unleash hell on everybody in '96.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't get that quite the same way on the men's side like you do on the women's side. So that's another thing. But Stanford in the Final Four, Louisville made it. Louisville's in a conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
With Coach Walls. I don't think I'm not saying his seat is getting hot, but he's got to get over that hump. And I don't know, the natives aren't restless yet, but I think this is like his 6th or 7th Final Four. And you gotta get over that hump.
I think it was 4. 2 of them he's lost to UConn. Made it to a title game once, I think.
Yeah.
Or twice. Lost to UConn.
Beat Baylor in the tournament one year with Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
But he's building a nice program, but he's got to get over the hump at some point. That's the thing is he's got to get over that. But Louisville's got a nice program now.
Are they? I mean, I'm not a Louisville fan, and I know, they've got the better of it in the head-to-heads with Kentucky lately, and I know he's done well. Kentucky's trying to kind of get to where they are, from that standpoint, and for me to think that, man, the Louisville fans are getting restless with him getting the Final Fours, hasn't won one yet. Are they looking at him like Doug Collins? And if so, who's going to be the Phil Jackson to get him over the hump? I mean,
right. And I'm not saying this is a vocal majority or minority at all. I'm just saying that at some point it's going to get to that situation where it's like, okay, you get, we saw it with Coach K, we saw it, with some of these other coaches on the men's and women's side. You can get there to the Final Four so many times, but at some point you've got to be able to seal the deal, right? You've got to be able to win one of these. Now, I'm not saying they're to that point yet, but and the thing is, they're losing to teams that have just Aaliyah Boston, right? They're just losing to teams that have just, Louisville has yet to bring in one of those. Now, they've had talent. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Louisville's had a lot of talent. You look at Angel McCoughtry, the NBA, and Asia Durr, the WNBA, but they haven't had those like eye catchers, and they're one of those away, I think, from really becoming national championship contenders.
Yeah. And you and I both saw Wildcat Corey's post on Facebook too, which was hilarious when he was talking about Jeff Walls. Hey, all that talent, and which I did notice that the man he did. I mean, he still talks fine, even though Corey was trying to make jokes about him. But but in the press conference, which he was fluent enough. I'm not gonna go in and say what Corey called him.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I got you.
he they asked him, I don't know who it was, if it was a Louisville media member, if it was national. They asked him, what are you going to change? To your point, what are you going to change as going forward? Because you've been getting here and you can't win. And he kind of bucked up. I'm not going to change anything. We've been to 4 Final Fours in 15 years, 5 Final Fours in 15 years, whatever it was. And then he kind of, I'm not saying he kind of defended what he was doing. And so I don't know.
But to be fair, if folks are questioning why Cal hasn't done more,
Yeah.
I think it's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the local folks are getting to that point, but I do think it's a legit question. You've had some WNBA talent, you've gotten there. I think it's legit. It's the same kinds of things that Mark Few is going to have to fight about. And this is where I kind of, with the national media folks, they get their media darlings, right? They get their guys they like, and Few is that guy. Well, he doesn't have hey, if you're going to set the big boys table, you got to have a championship ring. That's just the rules. I think with Bob Huggins going into the Hall of Fame, and we can talk about Hall of Fame folks later on, but I think the impediment was he doesn't have a title.
Nope.
And unfortunately, even at the collegiate level, you can be a good coach without one. You can be a great coach without one.
Mm-hmm.
John Chaney at Temple.
Right.
You can think of all these guys that have had great teams, have had great programs, have stayed relatively clean with the NCAA, and they don't have a title. And that's just a barometer. At some point, if you are going to be, if you're going to move up a level, you got to have at least one ring, right? And now Bill Self is now in that group with that smaller group with multiple titles.
Yeah. Sure
And
is.
that's a little bit different, because you can if you want to make an argument that a championship is ever a fluke, you can do that with one, right?
Mm-hmm.
If and when he gets number 2, well, because it's like, well, you had Anthony Davis. How hard is it to win with Anthony Davis? Well, I don't care who you got, championships are hard to win, but you get that second one, and it's a done deal.
And that is true. That is valid. And part of coaching is getting Anthony Davis, so you gotta get credit for that. Which John Thompson he lost 2 with Patrick Ewing. He won 1, but he lost 2. Lost to Villanova,
North Carolina,
and Houston, right? Or Ewing. No, that was Houston beat NC State. I was thinking. Yeah, lost 2 with Patrick Ewing. So, and I'm not trying to take shots at the one he won at all. I'm just saying that's crazy that's the narrative.
It's one of those things, and we could talk about the men's Final Four as well.
Yeah.
There takes a little bit of luck to win as well. You look,
Smith last week.
Yeah, you can look at every team that ever won a championship in anything, and I would say 90% of them, you can say, okay, if this one play goes different, they don't win.
Keith Smart. Boeheim has 2. If he misses, Knight only has 2. I mean, that one shot is the difference.
One shot, or some statistical anomaly like Kentucky going 3 for 34 in the second half against Georgetown 84. Like, weird things happen, especially in a tournament where it's single elimination. Like, just weird things happen. So it takes a little bit of luck to get there.
Yeah,
You know,
the board was hurt for Villanova in the semifinal. Kansas didn't have to deal with that's 15-5-2 that got hurt the game before they played Kansas. So no way to really adjust to how you compensate for that. And here you are in the Final Four, and you got to play Kansas. And Kansas jumped on them, and Kansas can't feel sorry, but that was a break. That was a break.
And that's the nature of how these things go. So on the men's side, Villanova, you kind of had a feeling they were going in shorthanded.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that Kansas came out shooting lights out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a comfortable one. And then I'm loath to say it, but the Duke North Carolina game lived up to the billing.
It sure did.
I hate to, I watched it, and I hate to, like I said, give that rivalry any credit, but man, it not only do you ruin Coach K's last game at Cameron, but you send him out like that. And I hate that. I hate this phrase that one team wanted it more, but North Carolina wanted it more. If you're Paulo Banchero, you got to go out guns a-blazing with Brady Manick on you. And I think he only had 3 points the last 8 minutes of the game. You can't do that if you think you're going to do it on the next level. And he might. This might be a learning experience, but and it's one of those things that's not going to get talked about too is Coach K didn't have any timeouts. It had flashbacks to 98. He couldn't get his team, couldn't get them settled down and get their heads together. Which it was unfair for him to have this year-long celebration and then keep talking about I want to put the put the spotlight on the kids. Nah, man, no. And look, it's okay. Just say don't tell me Coach K is being humble and he's on this year-long farewell tour. Don't feed that to me. Because
Dana O'Neill wrote a piece in Athletic and said it took 358 steps for him to leave the court, walk off the court, find his wife, and head to the locker room. Who's counting the steps? Who sat there and counted the steps? And did he stop and stutter step? Did he double back? Who's counting that?
The Sporting News had a 5-part series on Coach K's legacy. And then I opened up the good book, my Bible, and realized Jesus only got 4 gospels.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
But we got to get 5 parts for Coach K. That's part of it. And look, I know this is going to step on toes, but Duke fell into Duke is Duke because they got the best white boys in the country. And Coach K, willingly or not, built his program to be the opposite of what we were seeing with Georgetown, the opposite of what we saw with Arkansas, the opposite of what we saw with Michigan at that time. As college basketball got blacker, as college basketball got more athletic, Coach K leaned into having the best white basketball players. And that's fine if you want to do that. And I'm not saying he's a racist. I'm just saying when you look at the mid-80s coming into the early 90s, Duke was always a stark choice of what you saw the rest of college basketball doing. Then, but keep in mind, though, I think that Christian Laettner could ball. Like, he was a jerk. He was all that kind of stuff. But that dude and Bobby Hurley, they weren't from any kind of prep school. Like, those two guys weren't that. But they were white guys, and they were good and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But Duke leaned into that. They always had a Wojo. They always had a Chris Collins. They always had a Greg Paulus, where the commentators would slobber over themselves to tell you, these guys are heady players. And it's like, what are you talking about? Right? You and I watched Wayne Turner took Wojo to school in 1998. Once it clicked, and Tubby's like, that dude can't keep you from anything. Wayne Turner ate. Right? So this Duke narrative, that's part of it. That they were gonna quote unquote do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what rubbed everybody wrong, because Coach K is just a dude. All these coaches are just dudes. All these
Yep.
coaches want to win.
Yep.
All these coaches.
And we talked last week about how you were a little fan at the time. You get it, everybody from Kentucky on the team with Mashburn, the Unforgettables and all that. But, they don't get there without Mashburn.
That's right.
Probably still maybe shouldn't be as bitter about that game as we are, because 98 does cancel it out. But let the record state, I felt that way when UNLV rolled them in 91. I was loving every minute of it. So, and this was pre-Leitner. So I'm just, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was when they beat UNLV the next year, I couldn't believe it. I said, they done beat UNLV. You got to be kidding me. That loss hurt. Almost like a Kentucky loss.
Yeah, this is how bad it was at the beginning. Like, I try to caution some of these young people. The anti-Duke stuff isn't new. My dad, God rest his soul, until his memory went bad, one of the sports things that he hated the most was in the lead up to the 1986 championship.
Mm-hmm.
That Final Four, he will tell you, all we heard about was Johnny Dawkins at Duke. Johnny Dawkins this, Johnny Dawkins that. And Milt Wagner and those boys ate his lunch. This is 1986, and my dad was tired of the Duke narrative then. This was before Duke had even won. Because between my dad and my brothers telling it, now keep in mind, Denny Crum won a championship in 80.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the Final Four in 80, 83, 82, and 83. Right? So this is like his sixth trip to the Final Four, going for his second title. And all anybody was talking about in 1986 was Duke. So this isn't a brand new phenomenon where people are like, well, it's because they won a lot. No, I'm telling you in real time, from a Louisville family, we got tired of hearing about Johnny Dawkins in 1986. Do the math on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been that way. And that's what we were talking about with Mark Few at Gonzaga. Like, you don't have to, if a program is good, you don't have to tell everybody how good it is, how different it is. It's not different. All these guys are doing the same thing. Now, are there some coaches that are shadier than others? I don't know. Ask Will Wade. But all these guys are doing the same. What's that?
I'm gonna bring our guest in if we. Because he is in the green room, because we're on Roku and stuff now. So he's backstage, and he is the owner of B-Roll Productions. He's the famous School in Session tweets on Twitter, where he drops knowledge on those who don't know, and he lets them know. We've been able to kick it with him at games, up in the press box. We see him all the time. He is a Fleming County legend. We're talking about none other than Bradley McKee. Bradley, man, welcome to the show. What's happening, brother? Uh-oh. Got you muted, man. Got you muted. There he is. Okay.
Can you hear me?
There he is.
We got you.
Okay. What's up, man?
Yeah, we good. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm so happy to be on with you guys. It's been a minute, man. It's been a nice little minute. Been a couple years, right?
Oh, see, we I've been slipping, trying to get our friends of the show back on, and got in trouble. We had Dana Falk on, the daughter of the legendary David Falk. She got the food. She does the Hungry Fans. It's been about 6 years since we had her on, and we was like, oh, Lord.
Hey, COVID will do it to you. You know what I'm saying? COVID throws your years off.
Yeah, time's different, man.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
So, man, before we talk sports, first, look, because TB, your youngest daughter, Bradley, your twins, my oldest son, they're all right there about that 13 age, just becoming teenagers. You and your lovely wife have just brought a new son into the world, little Malcolm. Tell us what that's been like, because you started all over again, brother.
Hey, man, it's a COVID baby. No, we're blessed to have him. Yeah, he's 10 months old. His name's Malcolm. I tell you what, man, you forget about a lot of the things that you didn't, that you forgot about when you had our kids that are 13. Sleep is one. Um, the teething part, the fussiness. But he's a joy, man. I tell you what, he's both. I mean, he's made both of us, my wife and I, really redirection how we do things now. We used to pick up and just go. Now we have to think about, okay, now we got a little man. What do we need to bring with us just in case something happens? So we're constantly always thinking about what we got to do. But you know what? His brothers, being 13 years old, they love to have him, and they need each other. They're great big brothers. They really enjoy. Uh, it's funny because when we did have him, my sons were like, "My dad's a dad," and so it was just kind of funny to hear him say that because they never saw me as a dad until now. Because now they see me dealing with a little one, waking up, feeding, changing diapers. And I said, look, I had to do it with you all. And so now they're starting to see how it is. But it's been great, man. We love having him. He's joy to the family. He gets spoiled by his grandparents, uncles, aunts, his brothers. So we definitely love having him.
Man, and I'm with you anytime, like, go to some friend's house. They got toddlers, not even newborns. They're my youngest is 9, but this couple, they had a little 2 boys, like 5 and 3. And you even forget the little toddler stuff.
Yeah.
Seeing toddlers run around is different than a 9 and 13-year-old. So to go all the way back to a newborn like you, and
you see the grades coming in on me. You see the grades coming in.
I know you. Are you letting Pooh take care of that?
Man, Pooh been trying to take care of me. Here's the thing: Pooh been busy himself. I've been going from Pooh to this new guy named Tyrone that's downtown in Louisville. Just because it's hard to get Pooh. Pooh's on that schedule. It's hard to get him. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm on my way, and you on your way, and you get there. Still, an hour later, he's like, I'm still on my way. I'm like, look, you should have been here by now.
Yeah, there's nowhere in Louisville it takes an hour to get there. Because Vinny, we went to the same barbershop.
Yep.
Okay.
Back in Louisville. Yeah, I was just sitting there one day and B-Roll walked in. I'm like, oh, okay. This must be where the celebrities get their hair done. I must be doing right. All right.
No. Let you know.
That's what I thought when I saw TB in there. I was like, oh man, it's big time right here. You know what I'm saying? It's big time.
And then at time I saw Bradley, you were doing the Girls on the Run. My youngest was doing Girls on the Run, ran into you there. And I was trying to flex a little bit. I said, you see the photographer? I said, I know Bradley. She's like, okay. And then went on about her business. I'm trying to flex a little bit, but you know how kids will keep you humble.
Oh, they will, man. They will keep you really, really humble. I did that with my sons a lot of times when I was, going to these autograph signings for UK former players and stuff. And I'm like, they come up and give me dap. And I'm like, hey, yeah, that was Tony Delk or that was Tayshaun Prince. They're like, yeah, whatever, Dad. You don't really know him. But I would try to flex like, look, man, Daddy know a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Yeah. So, but now they brag now because they're 13. They go to school. So it's all about, showing the props to the kids at the school. Like, oh, that's my dad. He knows such and such. He covers Kentucky. He's done this. He's done that, So it makes me proud that they're happy to see me, doing something I love and they can kind of relate to it, being 13 years old and playing a lot of sports. So now they start to see what it's like, to have a little fame and fortune, not through me, just by seeing, the other players out there and getting that glory. So, but no, it's special, man. But But yeah, man, I need to go to pool and get a
that was one of the first things I had to do here. I had to find me a barber, because
get
there
an
are a few black people in Iowa, so we had to find a barber shop. I'm like, look, there's some ball playing somewhere, so there's got to be a barber.
You got a G League team there or D League team?
G League, yeah, that's where Briscoe is. Isaiah Briscoe's out here, man.
So
So I
they
need to
got
find his dude.
yeah.
Yeah. And then Terry had to go school in session on them because they didn't know about Muhammad Ali. You had to educate the fellas at the Des Moines barbershop.
Well, here's the thing, Bradley. I go in there because I'm always repping. I'm always repping no matter where I am. They say, "Oh, we didn't know they had black people in Kentucky." Ha 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 ha. And I look, and they got a huge picture of Muhammad Ali, and I was like, Muhammad Ali is from Louisville, Kentucky, like me. And I said, I guarantee ain't no barbershops in Kentucky got no black Iowans on there. So who you clowning? Talking about no black people. You got one on the wall. Come on now. Come with that.
Yeah, it's funny how a lot of people do forget that he's from Kentucky and Louisville just because he was such a big iconic guy and he moved around. He was in Atlanta, he was in Chicago, he was in New York, and he was overseas. He did a lot of stuff, where he was off training somewhere, so people thought they didn't know exactly where he was from because he trained all over the country.
Right,
and so,
right.
but he's right here from Kentucky, man. The Louisville Lip. You know what I'm saying?
The second most famous alumni from Louisville Central High School, as my dad would say. That's where my dad went. So he would let he's number two. He's number two. That's right.
He's a second yellow jacket.
Yeah. He's
Brown kept it 100, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh man, that man! Don't get me started about that. But man, Bradley, it's good to chop it up, man. I gotta ask, we all Kentucky guys, where are you on the state of the men's hoops program? Are you falling off the ledge? Are you where are you as a fan? Put your fan hat on. Kind of where are you right now? Yeah, put the hood up. Yeah,
I'm going to hoodie B-roll. You know what I'm saying? Hoodie B-roll. Man, I am. I'm at that point where I'm kind of fed up with all the Calisms. You know what I mean? Like I like my team. He's keeps saying we're going to be fine and all this stuff. I just need Coach Cal just to be quiet, go to work, because now here in the last 3 years we haven't really had a great tournament run. Right? 2020 we didn't make it because of the pandemic. The following, or 2019, 2020. We go 9-16, and then obviously this year, getting beat to St. Peter's in the first round. That just don't happen. That's two bad seasons, or two worst seasons in Kentucky history. Going 9-16 and then getting beat to a 15 seed. That does not happen. We're not used to seeing that. We're not accustomed to that. So as a fan, I'm very disappointed in how it's been going. I thought we had a good team. I thought this year's team was good enough to make a good run. The bracket was set up perfectly for Kentucky to really have a run and make some noise, but we just was not prepared. After the Tennessee lost at Tennessee, where we got beat down, I was a little concerned. And they just never could get it together. Even when they had Wheeler and Tata were out, I still thought we were okay because he put Grady at the 1 and we had Mintz at the 2. That was one of our best basketballs to watch. It was fun. It got Grady involved. It got Mintz going. You had to, bring in Hopkins a little bit, get a little taste of him. You had Collins playing a little bit. Cal got to the point where he was only playing 6 guys. We did not have a great enough team to only play 6 guys. We need to play about 8, sometimes 9. And I thought there was an opportunity in the SEC tournament when Kentucky was playing kind of bad against Tennessee, where he could have threw in Hopkins. He could have threw in Damian Collins, get them ready for the tournament, because obviously we needed them. When we played St. Peter's, we had no answers for their guards. We don't have a rim protector. I thought Damian Collins would come in and maybe show a little bit of length, kind of scare some of these guys. But them guards, man, they got up in our guards. Their guards were just playing better. You know what I'm saying? Like Tata went 100%. We had nobody can go off the dribble. Kellen Grady was just basically hiding out in the corners. So I've been very disappointed in how the season has been for the last 2 years. I think Cal just needs to start recruiting some dogs again. Give me a couple of DeAndre Liggins. Give me a couple of DeMarcus Cousins. I want to see some guys in there have some grit. I'm not saying that these guys didn't have it, but it didn't translate well on the court. And when you play teams like Tennessee, Arkansas, Auburn, you're going to have to need some dogs in there and be able to go to work. We can't just win off of our finesse, So when Kentucky won in 2012, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was that dog, right?
Yeah.
And so you needed somebody that had to have that motor to get other guys going because Anthony Davis was a freshman. He was still trying to figure it out. You had D. Miller, who was a senior coming off the bench, who probably should have been starting. So, you had the right pieces. Marcus Teague was a dog, even though he wasn't the best point guard Cal's ever had here. But he was a dog that didn't go out to go to work. Yeah. So those are type of Terrence Jones. We forget about him. He was a dog. So
it's a little crazy.
He's going crazy. I did not see a guy on this year's team that was that dog. I mean, don't get me wrong. Oscar Tshiebwe was everything for Kentucky. Now he was a dog, but he didn't have the ball in his hands, right? Like somebody had to give him the ball. When we talk about the other guys like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Darius Miller and Terrence Jones, those guys had the ball in their hands quite a bit. So that's why they could be more dominant on the floor.
And this is something. Sorry to cut you off, Vinny, but getting to the games early like we do, and we see them warming up and everything like this. It's not. We definitely need some more dogs, but we need a dude. We need a dude, and what I mean by that is, go back with me a few years, Bradley. You remember sophomore Tyler Ulis. You would get to the Rupp Arena, and the players they just be shooting. Ass farting around, whatever. But when Ulis got on the court, he was like a little general. Like they started before the coaches got out there. He was that unquestioned dude. And I think the last few years, we haven't had that guy as well. Like we haven't had someone on the court. It's like, okay, you get out of your huddle, and before the play resumes, we need somebody to get those other four players on the court on the same page. And that's not what we saw, particularly against St. Peter's or, the last 5 or 6 games of the regular season.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that we didn't really have a leader, I mean, Oscar was, if you look at his stats, right, he was the leader in points and rebounds and all that, but we didn't have a true leader where, you would see a guy grab a guy and say, hey, man, I need you to do your role, play your positions. I need you to go get a bucket for me. It was too much coach driven. And, Cal was coaching way too hard on that sideline for a team that was supposed to be his most veteran team he's ever had. When you think about Kellen Grady scoring 2,000 points at Davidson, you talk about Oscar Tshiebwe, who came from West Virginia. You talk about Damian Mintz, who came from Creighton.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had guys who came back from last year, Keon Brooks, who had been there multiple years. It was way too much coaching going on the sideline for me, because when you watch this tournament, there was coaching going on the sideline, but for the most part, Hubert Davis, he let North Carolina guys play. Same thing with Bill Self. He let those guys play. And so, there's times where I think you need to call a timeout, draw up a play, plug some stuff in. But other than that, man, you got to let the kids play. I feel like Grady was so scared to shoot the ball. And I'm like, you're one of the best shooters we've had come through Kentucky, but for some reason you pump faking or you hesitant on your shot. For what? You scored 2,000 points. Let that thing fly. You only got 1 year to play here.
When you 6'5", you tall enough to get it on off, even if somebody running at you. I mean, sometimes if it's about to get blocked, pump fake or whatever, but you 6'5", put a little more arc on it, get that. You tall enough. You ain't me out there 5'8", and you 6'5", you tall enough to go on and let it rip.
Right.
And this is go back what you were saying too, Bradley. The last third of this season, for the first time, I think Cal let the outside pressure get to him, and it affected the way he coached this team. Mm-hmm. Because at some point, the team got scared to do anything. And again, it's one of those things that you notice when you're at the games. How often is the point guard looking over at Cal? For every offensive possession. Because if you look, people talk about the free throws and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever, okay. But for my money, the games we've lost in March is when Cal puts the brakes on. I'm talking about 2015 with the 3 or 4 shot clock violations. I'm talking about the 2012 championship game, beating the brakes off Kansas. That game shouldn't have been that close.
No.
And it's like you got to let these guys just do it. And Cal, again, so much pressure on this team that they were just scared to do anything.
Yep.
Like you got to let Grady know, like you just got to shoot it. Like
Yep.
you have to empower these kids. And this was the first time I think the pressure of everything got to Cal.
Yeah.
Did that happen to him in 2008 against Kansas? Memphis was beating Kansas and then lost to, that's how Bill Self got his first one.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with that D Rose squad. If we want to go,
like 3 minutes left in that game.
Yeah.
So that's always been my complaint on Cal is you got to just let these guys just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
You've got to trust these guys because I was bored one night. Everybody talks about Cal needs to take those timeouts. Well, if he doesn't take those timeouts, but I got bored, like I said. The Aaron Harrison shot against Wisconsin, no timeout. We ended that game with 2 left. The 3-point Aaron Harrison shot against Louisville, we took 2 timeouts home with us. Like, you can go back and look. Brandon Knight over Ohio State and Princeton, no timeout. Your man DeAndre Liggins against North Carolina, no timeout. And you've just got to let your guys, and like you said, empower them to get it done and not be scared. And that's how we played scared the last couple of weeks of the season.
On the flip side of that, though, all the names you named were guys who can make big shots. Now, you look on this team, I'm not saying we didn't have that, but did anybody really show that they can do that, right? Because, Tata was supposed to be that guy. He wasn't 100%. Grady at times looked like that guy, but then he would revert to be in the corner. And so Dante Allen never got an opportunity to do that. Wheeler was a guy who couldn't really shoot. He was just a great penetrator. So you talk about Liggins, the Harrison twins, you talk about or Jamal Murray or Tyler Euler. Some guys were built for that moment. I think some of these guys were not really built for that moment. I'm not saying they're not good players and can't make those shots. So but go ahead, Vinny. What were you saying?
So in that situation this year, if you don't have that guy, is it a situation that you don't have that guy, or are they not empowered? Or like you said, dude, maybe since this team ain't those teams, maybe you do have to call a little timeout if you're not constructed the same way those teams were.
Yes, I agree with you. When you look at this team, there was only 2 games I thought they looked dominant against Kansas and against Tennessee. Other than that, they were shaky. And so for me,
North Carolina now.
North Carolina, those 3, right? That's the best they played all year as a team. Mm-hmm. Now, the stretch there where they didn't have Wheeler and Tata, they played well at home. They had some stretches there, but as a collective, as a full team, that's when they looked their best. Other than that, they kind of looked shaky. So I thought there was times where Cal could have called timeout and kind of regrouped his team and got the best shot, not necessarily rely on Wheeler going to the basket and trying to throw something up among the trees. So, like you said, I'm not in practice. I'm not a coach. I'm not trying to really critique Calipari all the time. But from the outside looking in, there was things that obviously was very blatant where Cal could have made adjustments, and he didn't do it. Now, that's where I think that his coaching staff and him were not on the same page. I think Coach Chin and Lando Antigua were wanting to play a certain style, and Cal was trying to play his style, and it didn't work. And I think that's where some things kind of got a little questionable there because really, I know everybody keeps saying KP won those games. Well, let's keep it all the way real. KP did win some of those games for Coach Cal when he was there, just because KP was a guy who said, when things were going wrong or kid was like all in his feelings because Cal was coming down hard on him, KP would pull him to the side and say, hey, look, man, do you want to make it to the league? Do you want to be the best you can on this team? Let's go to work. Let's go get this treadmill. Let's go in the gym. And I'm not saying that Coach Chin and Coach Orlando Antigua or Lucas are not doing that, but it's a different vibe. You know what I'm saying? And so I think Cal is still trying to figure out how he can work with his assistant coaches and them, because you saw on the bench a lot of times he was arguing with them. You know, he was arguing with his assistant coaches. Not saying that doesn't happen and you can't get along and things can go right.
It was noticeable this year.
It was very noticeable this year, and so that's uncharacteristic of Calipari. You know what I mean? Like he would get upset, but he would still kind of be able to settle down. And you can tell it was a different anger. You know?
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, I'm disappointed with the loss of St. Peter's. Let's keep it,
Yeah.
But I am more encouraged because after last year's 9-16 team, and we all as fans and everything said, well, we can't do this again. Cal's got to get, he's got this offseason checklist. We've got to upgrade assistant coaches. He did that. He's got to get some dudes in here. And now we've got the first undisputed National Player of the Year in Kentucky history. So I always try to come a little bit more realistic. Like, yes, this was disappointing, but this was a step in the right direction. I think personally, we were asking a lot of this team to go from 9-16 to Final Four because Cal's got some coaches, even though Orlando, he knows, but he's got to figure out that coaching dynamic as well as the player dynamic as, their experience, but not experience together. Like, who's going to be the dude? Is this a team where I've got to call these timeouts, or will somebody go get a bucket? Because we thought it was going to be Ty. Well, he's injured and can't do that. What is our plan B? So, again, I'm disappointed, but I'm still encouraged because I'm not like everybody else. Well, Cal just has given up. I don't see that as giving up. You don't go get Oscar if you've given up. You don't go get Wheeler if you've given up. You don't do these things, and you don't give us those flashes. I think if we had lost in the first round and we didn't have the Kansas game, didn't have that Carolina game, where we saw this team be great, that's what makes this loss hurt more than any of the others. I might have been able to take a 2-15 seed loss if we didn't see these flashes where this team was good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not good, but great, and I think next year, I think will be different. The coaches will be on the same page, whoever the players are. So, again, disappointed, but I'm still encouraged by what I saw over last offseason.
And he's always, back to your point, Braylon, he's always shortened down that rotation, loves to get it down to 7, whether no matter who's on the bench, what kind of talent you got sitting over there. We saw Hopkins come in and bail him out against LSU at home.
Yeah.
And then we heard Cal. You mentioned the Calisms. We heard him say he's made to where I've got to play him. He's making me put him on the floor, and we didn't see him pretty much the rest of the year.
Yep. Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Cal does that, man, and he could do that early on because he had guys who had that mentality. Like, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna do me. I think a kid like Hopkins is a little bit. Some of these kids are just a little bit more sensitive, I would say, and you got to build them up more than put them down. And so, when that happens, and it's hard when you're 17, 18 years old, you come in, you're at Kentucky, and you're thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to be able to play, and then all of a sudden you don't play. You lose your confidence. It's hard for you to get it back. But there's certain guys who, come from nothing that get that mentality. Like, I don't care what Coach Cal says. I know who I am. When I do get my opportunity, I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna be a dog. And we saw that from Hopkins in that one game. That's the only time I've seen him actually play. Like, I don't care what I do. If I make a mistake, I don't care. I'm still gonna just do me. And so we saw it with Damian Collins when he played against Alabama. He came in. He played loose. Right. He was out there dunking, blocking shots, hitting free throws, getting and ones. I'm like, who's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy Cal recruited. But sometimes when that translation between high school and coming to college, sometimes it doesn't work yet. It takes you a couple years. And obviously we know Kentucky's been known for one and dones and all that. Well, that's kind of out the window now. It's pretty much now 2, 3 and done. That changed ever since PJ Washington came in to me. Guys like that, like because we're not getting the most dominant player anymore, right? We didn't get, we didn't get the players that, North Carolina had or Kansas had, or we don't get those guys like that. And that's nothing bad. It's just that we get a different structure of guy, especially now with the NIL and the transfer portal and all that stuff. It changes the game tremendously. So we got to start thinking as fans now 2 to 3 year plan instead of a 1 year plan. And hopefully, because when Cal started doing this, man, he was the first one doing it, right? Now everybody's kind of catching up to it. You see Coach K was doing it. Now he's leaving the game, supposedly. You know, you know what I'm saying? So, Roy did it. He got out of the game. Jim Bayon's probably on his way out as well. Like, the game has totally changed. And KP, I listened to his press conference, and I reference to him because he's a new, younger guy like Juwan Howard and these, Patrick Ewing. These former players are coming back playing for their, are coaching for their alma mater. But KP said, "Look, this is no longer about the coaches; it's about these kids now." And so I think Cal has to change a little bit of that. He still thinks it's about him. I'm Calipari, and
Yeah.
That's great, but it's not about you anymore. It's about these kids now. You see that we got these NIL deals and the transfer portal. It's about these kids now, and so I think Cal has to figure out a way to change his coaching style to relate to these kids, and
that's one thing that Coach K did. I hate to give him credit, but you don't last 42 years without changing your philosophy.
Yes.
Like Vinny, like I was saying earlier, he started out, I'm just going to get the best white dudes and I'm going to sell this image, while Michigan with their baggy shorts, we're going to be the Ivy League kind of thing. But he changed that up. He went on a stretch where he's like, I need Kyrie Irving on campus, and he made that switch. And you see coaches that do that for a long time that are really, really great. You've got to make that switch at some point in time.
Yep.
I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
No, I was just saying. I was just going to back up what you're saying. I mean, you see it in all phases. I mean, when we talk about, I'm gonna flip the football with Coach Stoops. He changed the way he coached. You know what I mean? Like, he changed the way he was doing things, because the way he came in, the culture was all bad, right? So he had to rearrange. He finally got rid of joker guys and got his own guys in there, and he changed the game. He was going out and getting these 3 to 4 star players and developing them, and now he's getting 5-star players and still developing them, and they get to the NFL. So, backing your point up, Terry, you have to change your coaching style as the game evolves, right? And I think Cal's kind of still stuck in his ways. And, the people that were helping Coach Cal with that, 2 people, I think, that, and now we see him struggle, was Kenny Payne and Dwayne Peavy. And both of those guys are gone. And so now you see Cal kind of not necessarily up to par, because I think they used to fill him in on what things are going on, all the noise. So I think that he's going to have to figure out a way to change for sure.
And you look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban at Alabama now, trying to put up 30, 40 points a game. That's not what Nick Saban was doing when he got to Alabama. He's like, we're going to win 9-6. We're going to win. This is how we do it. But, coaches got to flip.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that are able to have that success for extended periods, you've got to change. Because even 10 years, these kids, these 17-year-olds don't remember Anthony Davis at Kentucky.
No.
They remember Anthony Davis as the injured guy for my beloved Lakers, right? Like, I beat you to it. I beat you to it. But these kids don't know.
Yeah.
You talk to a 17-year-old, they don't know what happened 4 or 5 years ago. So that cachet is gone. Now, speaking of coaches, I want to talk to you because I tagged you in this. It's secret based. They do these things where it's coaches beef. Well, not coaches beef, but beef between like players or fans. And they did one. I was like, I got to check this out, between Rick Pitino and Coach Cal. Taking it all the way back. And I'm watching, get to the end. There's a picture of them doing one of those fake hugs at the end of a game. And there's that freeze frame, B-roll right there, right there, grinning. I think he behind on Cal's side. I was like, look at this. Look at this, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I saw a lot of those hugs and handshakes throughout the year when Patino was here, probably for 10 to 12 years. And, they kept it cordial. But, there was always a little beef between the two because back when, obviously Cal was at UMass and, Pitino was at Rhode Island and Providence, and all that area.
Yeah.
Cal used to go to a lot of Pitino's coaching clinics, and he wanted to be an upcoming coach, and Pitino kind of took him on his wings, and and I think that Cal doesn't give credit to Pitino. Pitino's like, look, I kind of molded you up, you know what I'm saying? And because if you look at, we know about Pitino's coaching tree is crazy with Toby Smith, Donovan, with Billy Donovan. You go down the line, Steve Massiano. He has all these coaches out here now that are coaching and doing pretty well. Besides Frank Vogel, who was a student assistant or a grad assistant on the '96 team.
He won a championship.
He won a championship. You know what I'm saying? He got a ring at the Lakers and at Kentucky, so you can't knock him. You know what I mean? So, but I think that there's always been that beef because obviously Kentucky, Louisville, right? I'm interested to see what it's going to be like now with KP and Coach Cal because they are good friends. He was under Cal for 10 years, and KP's one of those guys. You don't dislike him. You know what I mean? You really like him. He's from Mississippi. He's a Southern guy. He's a very genuine guy. Never really comes off as an arrogant guy either. So I am kind of curious to see how that will happen. He's going to recruit his tail off at Louisville, and he's going to have them ready to go. And he knows how Cal is too, right? So he knows Cal, so he can probably he's going to sneak in there and get some wins because obviously Pitino only had one in like 10 years. So, or two, I don't know how many it was, but
my take, this is going to be, remember when Cal got to Kentucky and Pitino was kind of coasting and they thought he was on his way out, but you got that other dude and then all of a sudden Louisville's Final Four and, national champion. Like I have a feeling, this is just me, that this is going to be enough to get Cal to make those changes that we talked about earlier. Because he respects Kenny, but you don't want to lose to your former assistant. Like that's the one thing Saban doesn't do until this year. Like I'm not losing to the dude that used to report to me. Like I am not doing that. So I have a feeling that that's going to light a little bit of a fire under Cal.
Is this KP from the Cal coaching tree now? Was that qualify or?
Yeah, I would think because and it was all kind of set up when you think about it. He wanted to take the job a couple years ago, right? But obviously Mac got it, and it wasn't the right timing. So I think for him, he was like, I need to separate myself from Kentucky. And so he went to the Knicks for a couple years to kind of separate himself. Now people know him as the former Knicks assistant coach. And then he takes a job at UK. So I think it was a very smart move on him to kind of do that because back when the job was open, he was basically leaving Kentucky, going straight to Louisville. And fans were not having that. The administration wasn't having it at Louisville. And it wasn't the right timing. I think this time is the right time. Mac, they wanted to see what Mac was going to do. He was the coach of the year right before he took the job at Louisville. So he was kind of on that high. But obviously it didn't work out well for him. But now you get KP in here. And one thing he's going to do is bring back the fan base. Like, he embraced – KP is going to embrace the former players. How many guys were at when his press conference? It was like 50, 60 former players there. Guys that ain't been around for years. And so that's what Louisville wanted and wanted to get back to. Denny Crum was the first one. Him and Wade Houston was the first two there waiting on him when he got off the plane. So they're ready, man. They've been wanting to get this guy in here for a long time, and that's what they wanted. And so, Cal did that at Kentucky, bringing back a lot of the former players, embracing that history. And I think that's what made the fan base love Cal so much, along with winning. Even though he's on one title, and we should have multiples, that's okay. But embracing the people before you with Joe B. Hall and all that,
Oh, yeah. Everything he did for Joe B was fantastic. We were talking about, Joe B, when we were in school, he was like, oh, yeah, he won that championship. He was just kind of a guy. But Cal really got him to be embraced and be at the games and go to the Wheeler's Pharmacy and all that kind of stuff. And I see KP doing that for Louisville. So, good for them. I want my hometown school to do great, just not great when they play us. So that's not too much. That's not too much to ask.
No, it's not.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And, shoot. But as long as if this does rejuvenate Cal like it did Rick when Cal got here, just stop sure we can't have the continued pass situation. We just gotta know when to stop the rejuvenation. Just draw the line and just
There
Oh,
you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, I don't even touch that. I don't even touch that.
Yeah.
But y'all, you mentioned Joe BT. Look, I had to just, anyway, y'all was all thinking. I just said it. With Joe B, you mentioned Joe B. Terry. You B-roll your video. Terry already mentioned you being on the SB. You videoed everything, but you got Joe B on the blue carpet for Big Blue Madness a couple years ago.
Yep.
Just talk about that, and then just some of the coolest stuff you've gotten to do, because you've been on the scene for everything, man.
Yeah, no, that moment I had with Joe B was great. That's when I was freelancing at UK for 1 year. They asked me to be the MC for the blue carpet, and I thought, "What? Y'all want me to be the MC for the blue carpet?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I'll do that." And it was kind of hectic because they didn't really tell me who was going to be coming. I like some of these guys came through; they were from like the Rups Runts, and I didn't know who they were. And I'm asking them what's their names, and I have no idea, but I did know Joe B. Hall. So when Joe B. Hall came through, I knew I had to give that magical introduction. And he started doing the little John Wall flexing
Oh
all.
yeah.
And that was an awesome moment, man. Because I had an encounter with Joe B. Hall years ago because my high school coach, Lake Kelly, who passed away probably about 10 years ago, he was assistant coach under Joe B. Hall when they had like Melvin Turpin, Kenny Skywalker. He actually helped get Leonard Hamilton hired at Kentucky, and he became one of the first black assistant coaches, at Kentucky. And Leonard Hamilton would send my coach, his wife, flowers every year because he helped him get this job and all that. So anyway, Coach Kelly passed away, and I did a story on him, and so I got to go to Joe B. Hall's house and sit down and talk with him, and he was great. He was telling me about how he loved Coach Kelly, how he was a great defensive coach, and how disciplined he was. He would always be the disciplinary with the guys, because Joe B was the head coach, but he was like the guy that would make sure guys stay focused and hold them accountable and check their rooms if they were on road trips. And so he had a big role, for the team during that time. So I got to sit down and talk with Joe B then, and it was so great to sit there and just listen to him and tell stories. And may he rest in peace. But he was a great guy, and I'm glad that I actually got to be in his presence and talk with him before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue that Joe B might be the most important coach in Kentucky history.
Yeah,
like we're going to find out. North Carolina kind of struck gold replacing Roy. We'll see what Shire does replacing Coach K. But Joe B is the one that said this is more than about Rupp. So I would make that argument. And he also, like you point out, brought some Negroes onto the staff and onto the team, which was a transition that Kentucky had to make and shake off, the Glory Road stuff. We all black dudes here, right? We all go to the same barbershop, so we can have this conversation, because when I was growing up, Louisville, Kentucky meant two different things.
Yes.
And so Joe B was part of that to help transition away from that.
Right.
I mean, y'all know. I'm just saying what I'm saying.
Oh no, I know what you know. That's a very good point. And there's always that turn, in the program, and obviously Joe B made that turn. And look at what is now. Look at what Kentucky's doing now, and what Cal's doing, and it opened up for guys like Tubby Smith to be here for 10 years. I mean, whoever thought Tubby Smith would be here for 10 years? I didn't think that. When they hired him, I thought, boy, he's got a short leash, and and then it's so funny because everybody wants to give a hard time to Calipari, but I guess they gave a hard time to Tubby back in the days. But then when you look at it, here it is now. Him and Tubby are kind of lined up. 20 wins, same many titles.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar stuff.
And real quick, because we don't keep you all night, but here's my thing when it comes to Kentucky coaches. we're kind of soured a little bit on Cal and the Cal-isms. I don't think we've had a coach. This isn't the type of job where you can do what Coach K's doing and get that farewell tour. Like, you don't get to hang out that long. Rupp because he got old.
Right.
Joe B because he got tired of it. Sutton because of, obviously, but there's no warm and fuzzies when the Kentucky coach leaves. It's just it's very business-like how we do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you were great then, but we're ready to move on, and we'll warm up to you in 20 years. Like we did with Joby, like Tubby finally getting recognized. So maybe in 2050, we'll be like, you know what, Cal wasn't as bad as we thought.
Right. Exactly. No, for sure, man. I hate to jump off here. My sons have practice. I can sit and talk with you guys forever, man. This has been fun. I want y'all to put me back on because I want to, deep dive into, this whole conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we'll talk about that train ride that we took that was.
Oh, yeah.
we still got more stuff for you, man.
Oh, for sure, man.
Late in the summer, because it's off season now, summertime. We get you on before football start. We gotta get you back on, man.
Yeah, man.
We can reminisce.
You can have me on multiple times. Anytime you need me, man, I'm available. I got you guys, man. I can sit down and talk about this all day. I have a lot on my chest I need to get off anyhow.
Yeah,
so we certainly appreciate it, Bradley.
Yes, sir. Sure.
All right, B-Roll.
All right. Well, you guys take care, man. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Bradley McKee. And it won't be 2 years before we have him on again. You can best believe that. So
yeah, I mean, I used to see Brad just all over the place in town with his boys because he was doing the same stuff. Same age as my girls, just about. So we'd see him out and about at different activities and different things like that. And then, see him at the barbershop and everything. I said, look at this. I'm going where the celebs go, baby.
Yeah, he can try to act like he ain't one, but he is. I'm finally on board this week. Finally got me, finally get the Gatorade love for BS3 Network. You got your lemon lime. Had to go cool blue. And
I go back to when Gatorade was in glass bottles. That's how I go.
Mm-hmm.
But the Final Four, backtracking a little bit, I mean, it was all right. Kansas came back. I think North Carolina just ran out of gas because they only played 5 dudes. So it's okay. Kansas. I made peace with Kansas and North Carolina playing in this game a long time ago. Once Kentucky lost, I was like, whatever happens, happens. But Kansas to me was the lesser of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, this is only Kansas' 4th championship. And they've had a lot of dudes come through there.
Yeah.
So, but good for them. Good for Kansas. I really don't have a beef with Kansas. North Carolina, I'm glad they didn't win. So now this team is kind of like our 2014 team, where you get close, you get that runner-up, because it's just rare that your Kentucky, North Carolina can play the role of underdog and actually mean it. That's a strange situation for those programs to be in. So I watched the championship game. It was okay. I just think North Carolina they just ran out of gas, and that's the thing about the tournament is that by the time you get to Monday night, no matter how good you are, you kind of, it's like a prize fight. This is like round 12. Your legs are shot, and different things like that. We've seen some Kentucky teams get to Monday night and not have anything left, and kind of have to crawl across the finish line to get there. So yay for Kansas, ready for now I'm ready for madness to start.
Yeah. So it was like a Baylor situation, and just Carolina couldn't survive it this time because they had Baylor down big, and Baylor rallied and forced overtime, and Carolina still was able to eke that one out. But it was way too much time, and like you said, they ran out of steam, Kansas blitzed them defensively. They did Miami the same way in the second half because Miami was up, and then they did, Larry Nagin them the same way. We went on that big run. So, give him credit. Self has two now for now. He has two. So
yeah. So not that big a deal to me. But the one caveat I have on this season is we can't just toss this season as Kentucky fans on the disappointing seasons. Yes, it didn't end like we thought, but man, with Oscar becoming the first unanimous player of the year, like, and only like the 17th first team All-American, like that, for a program like this, for him to be the first, and we've had dudes, because I forgot that in 2012 the NABC was on some BS, and Player of the Year was Draymond Green, and Coach of the Year was Tom Izzo. I knew there was the one that he didn't get, and that just made me mad all over again. But for Oscar to do that, I just hope we don't just throw this on the pile of disappointing seasons and move on. Again, this was a step in the right direction. I felt, the laundry list of stuff we wanted Cal to do after 9 and 16, he did. Now, the end, I think the pressure kind of got to him and he got to the team, but we got moments. People talking about having fun. I had a lot of fun. Kansas was fun. North Carolina was fun. Alabama, that the game where Kellen Grady gets hit on the backside, picks up the ball, hits it through. Like, there are fun moments. I just, my argument, it's not really an argument, but look, we're all frustrated because we lost to St. Peter's. Okay, let's just start at that point. However, you have to, there's nuance to this stuff, right? There's, and I always tell folks, we talked about this on Spaces last night, we should be able to understand nuance. And when I make this point, I talk about that 92 team. That team, I think Sean Woods is still top 10 in assists. But other than Mashburn, that team was just a bunch of dudes. But we understand, what did that team mean? Because of the probation, because of, there were a lot of hometown kids or home state kids. We remember Richie Farmer from Clay County going against Allen Houston at Ballard. Like, we remember all that. And because of all these external reasons and internal reasons, that team, even though it didn't mean to go to the Final Four, we still honor that team. We understand nuance. And very rarely in life do you have things that are black and white. I was looking at some of my Facebook posts, from years past, and sometimes you don't have a great season, you don't have a terrible season. Sometimes you just have a season. Like, sometimes you just have a year. And I think that's what this is. Yeah, disappointing, I get it, but man, we got to see Oscar Tshiebwe do some things that we have not seen done in Lexington, period. And you can't throw that out. You just can't. That's the point that I try to make. We talked about this on Round of Shots when friend of the show, Van Hiles, was talking about, talking to people about the football season. And when it comes to football, people are pessimistic on football. Why? Because Kentucky lost a game in 1992. Because of the Bluegrass Miracle. Because of losing to Tennessee. And when it comes to football, we let the history of the team not being good color how we feel. But in basketball, we let this short-term disappointment, and we ignore the 100 years of greatness that preceded it. People just want to be miserable. That my whole point is that your mindset changes, so you are just more miserable. Misery loves company. That's a truitude. So you can't be happy with football because of what happened for 50 years, but you can't be happy with basketball because, and people, well, we haven't been good in 3 years. Like, in 2020, we won the SEC by 3 games. Like, that's my only real gripe is you can't throw that 2020 season into your seasons of disappointment because everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
That Quickly Maxey, Junior Nick Richards, everything stopped. You can't use that against Cal. And I'll be fine if you say you can't argue that for Cal. Okay, because again, that was the year with Evansville and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But you can't count that against him because what are you supposed to do? That team was one of the top teams in the country going into it.
Yo.
So, yes, I will give you 9-16. Terrible. This year, the finish, not what we wanted, but we had flashes. We're getting back to it.
Yeah, because like you said, we don't know. If 2020 continues and they had lost in the first round, counted against them. They could have also made a run to the Final Four. We'll never know. It's just so, like you said, don't knock him for winning the regular season by 3 games and didn't even have a tournament, right? It stopped the tournament.
Right. That's when everything started dropping. So
could have possibly won another SEC tournament and had a deep run. So yeah, don't knock him for what. It's not like they lost in the first round 2020. If they had a, then we throw that in with the past 2, throw it in with St. Peter's and 9-16. But it didn't happen. You're right.
And again, this loss was bound to happen, losing to a 15 seed. Bill Self, he won this year, but he also lost to Bucknell. He also lost to Northern Iowa. He also lost to
Bradley.
Yeah, there's a 4 or 5 schools that they lost to as a higher seed, 3-14, something like that, where you're like, what? And now Cal has one of those. That's my whole mindset on that. What we're seeing is not that unusual, and that's why I think Cal will be back. Because, like I said, I've been saying, look, Cal's not walking away from $42 million, and Kentucky's not paying him $42 million.
Yeah,
in a lump sum. So we got to make this. We got to make this last because Kentucky's got money, but they don't have enough money to pay Cal to go away and bring in a top dude. Because you're looking at about $70-75 million. Ain't nobody got it like that. Times is tough. So we got to figure this out. And how do we do this?
Yeah.
And I think Cal will be back. Again, like some of the points that Bradley touched on. You got brand new coaches. You got brand new coaching structure to deal with on top of all the players. So there are a lot of moving parts. And, to say that, I've seen people say, well, Coach Cal just gave up after 2015. Like, he brought in Oscar. That's my counter to folks. We all admitted 9 wins can't happen, right? And then he checked off everything that we asked for. Hit the transfer portal. Boom. Shake up the coaching staff. Boom. And we had those moments. Now, it didn't finish. That's a separate discussion. But he did make moves to change the way he operated his program. He did.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can't say, well, he just – no. He brought in Oscar Tshiebwe. Like, give the man some credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you gonna get me for my Lakers? You gonna get your Lakers jokes off?
We could. I mean, it's just exciting. It's just exciting to know that they're on the outside looking in. It's just like when Tennessee went out. Sure, they made it one round further than Kentucky, but when Tennessee lost to Michigan, all right, that's joyous. It doesn't take away the St. Peter's loss, but it's joy seeing them not get past the second weekend. Another year not make it to the Final Four. The next thing, I text you because I was like, Tennessee's out. Now we just got to get Duke up out of here. Can enjoy this tournament in peace. Same thing with the Lakers. The Lakers ain't even in the play-in, which they probably wouldn't have won that anyway. But now we can just enjoy these playoffs. Ain't even got to worry about the Lakers. It's all about who's in, and that's just how I feel. Yes, the Rockets was out as soon as the season started. We started off 2-14 or whatever. We knew we was gone, and now the Lakers was trying to trying to scrap and claw, and it didn't happen. And that was just nice. That was just so nice.
It's all right. I was honest with you before the season started. I was like, well, we're playing with house money because I don't know how this is going to go with a bunch of old dudes. I said that in the preseason,
Mm-hmm.
and yay, verily, it came to pass. It's just a team of old dudes, and
It was GP and Malone at best, and then what you got at worst. That was the
well,
you know,
now we got to be fair with the Peyton and Malone team made it to the finals.
that's what I'm saying. At best,
Yeah.
that's what it would have been.
Yeah, but people use that team. We'll see what like they took care of the Spurs, the defending champion Spurs, that year. So calm it down on that being an abject failure. Like I get, they lost in the final, but they lost in the finals, so it's not. But this year, LeBron's just breaking down. But Father Time is undefeated,
Mm-hmm.
and just because we're used to seeing LeBron do a lot of things, he doesn't have that gear anymore.
Yep.
Can he be the best player on championship team? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Not when you look around the league and you look at Jokic, you look at Giannis, you look at some of these. Can LeBron do that? Not anymore. And I think that's a reasonable discussion to have.
Embiid and Harden doing better than I thought since they've been paired up too.
Yeah.
So, because I thought, this is gonna mess up the chemistry. I was like, Tyrese Maxey it's gonna slow him down, and it hasn't. So I will say that I'm wrong. Now we'll see what they do in the playoffs, but I thought this was gonna mess them up in the second half of the regular season, and I was wrong.
And with the Lakers, you've got old veterans, a lot of old veterans that I think Vogel is gone.
Yeah.
But it's a tough situation where you've got LeBron, Russ, Carmelo, AD, and then you've got Monk and Reeves, and I don't know how you juggle that. I don't know how you develop players, the young players.
Mm-hmm.
Winnie and Gabriel played pretty well, in stretches for this team, but I don't know because it's almost like two different teams. It's like you combine the varsity and JV because you don't have enough dudes, and it's like you got to do something with these young kids. But how do you balance that out? Because you got a bunch of veterans that need touches,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was a very unfair situation. I still think the Lakers figure it out. That's just me.
Free agency. Just go grab a couple.
I don't know. I've had a lot of people because I'll tweet out like, "Yeah, they'll be fine." Well, do you trust this front office? Yeah, like.
So Melo and Russ gone, and AD and LeBron and somebody bring in a couple more and gear up again. What do you think?
I don't know. They can't run it back,
right?
But they've got to figure out a way to get some bodies so LeBron and AD don't have to play minutes.
You be taking a flight to LA if they ran it back. You be ready to ride if they ran it back, right? Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But and look,
Genie, we run it, Genie. We better not run it back, Genie. Don't make me go out there, Genie.
I know things are different than they used to be, but look again, 11 championships and almost 45 years of me being here, and because here's the thing, dudes want to play in LA. Now, do they want to play with LeBron? It was the question, did people want to play with Kobe? Not necessarily, but dudes want to play in LA. It's LA. So however it works out, it'll work out. And so in a couple of years, when they get another championship and we're having this discussion, I'll tell you, hey, they figured it out. I didn't know how they were going to get and what they were going to do post Kobe. Once Kobe came off the books, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. Oh, LeBron, AD, championship in consecutive. Okay, that works. But I just, people are like, you just got to get young. And no, man, the Lakers are not going to go through, no offense, they're not going to do what the Rockets do because they can't do that. That has never been the Lakers' MO. Talking to Kendrick Haskins on Twitter a couple weeks ago about it, like the Lakers can't do that. That just is not their brand. And because remember when Magic retired in '91, in the years after, they ended up with Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, Cedric Ceballos, Vlade Divac. They had a really good young team. No, man, that's not going to cut it in LA.
Yoden Campbell and everybody.
Yeah, they were in the playoff. Like, let's go get Shaq. Okay, but that's some teams that's just their MO. That's just how we're going to do it. And the Lakers got to have stars. I've told you before, that's how they did it when they were in Minneapolis. That's how they made it in LA. And that's how they've been doing it. Is we got to have a star, a super duper star. You look at that NBA at 75, a lot of dudes that wore purple and gold.
That's right.
Like, I don't know if you saw that picture. Somebody, an artist did a picture of all the people. For some reason, they had LeBron in Lakers. I don't count him as a real Laker. But that being said, he did wear purple and gold. So, how fortunate are we as Lakers fans? We're like, yeah, LeBron really ain't one of us.
Yeah, that's what I was focusing on when you said it. I was like, wow, he ain't a real Laker. Contributed to the.
And he might mess around. They might get this right and be back in it next year. I don't know. And he could end up with 2 championships. Like, we don't really count him.
We appreciate you, but you ain't really one of us. But thank you.
and I get into it with people a lot. I see these your top Lakers of all time, and I've got Magic and then Kobe. And I had somebody say, "What about Kareem?" I love Kareem, and I think he needs to be in that conversation for GOAT. I think he gets overlooked a lot. But for me as a Laker fan, who are the dudes that spent their whole career for the Lakers? That's how I see being a Laker great. Magic, Kobe, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, James Worthy. Yeah. Give me some of those dudes. Yeah, and that means you don't count Norm Dixon, you don't count Bob McAdoo, you don't count Shaq, you don't count Kareem, you don't count Wilt. Like, come on, man.
Oh man.
But I'm just giving all this because my feelings are the Lakers aren't in the playoffs and it stinks. It does stink. But that's the beauty of LA. It's championship or bust. This was a bust. And we'll regroup. I mean, that's just how it is.
The definition of it for sure.
Yeah.
We get our promo video in here too, because as always, it's a cool video being put in here. It just shows everything under this BS3 umbrella. So we'll jump and put that in here real quick as well. So y'all check it out when you watch it, and y'all will definitely enjoy it. Hope you enjoy the show too. Changing the way you watch TV, as you saw, and we definitely proud to be part of the BS3 network, bs3network.com. Got the phone number there. Give them a call If you want to advertise your business or product, just let them know. Let us know. We'd be happy to promote it, just like we do the Gatorade. And we always talk about play action pools and La Terrain watches. We will talk about your business or product. And much love to Gatorade for showing BS3 love. Definitely appreciate it. TB, you even got the Gatorade and the BS3 love in on Round of Shots the other day. You even let them know Sunday how it is over there.
Yeah, I had a good time on Round of Shots. I get it. Everybody's frustrated and they want Cal to prostrate himself into all the. Hey, you gotta just move on at some point. It's the off season. We all mad. You just got to go with it, man. Like, that's what upset me. Well, you look at the championship, North Carolina and Kansas. We beat both of those teams. Okay. I had to watch a Super Bowl against a team and the Rams that the 49ers had beat 7 straight times. And we also beat the Bengals this year in Cincinnati. So I had to watch a Super Bowl game between two teams I knew my team could beat. Had beaten the Rams twice this year. So, one by 21, and the second one came from 17 points down to go to overtime so the 49ers could even make the playoffs. So yeah, some sports are weird, man. Like you can look at whatever, like 2014, right? Florida had beaten Kentucky 3 times, 2 weren't even especially close, and we're in the championship game. UConn got beaten by Louisville 3 times, like had gotten like 40 points in the champion or in the conference tournament, and they're playing for a champion. Like, sometimes weird stuff happens. Like, it doesn't make me feel better for worse. My whole thing is stop talking about those regular season games because you sound like Indiana fans and the Watford shot. That's not what we do here.
That's true.
So
it's true. And I will, I'll go back, like you said, all the positive moments, just like, go back and watch, the Florida and LSU football games and the Iowa bowl game. You might have to watch that in secret or on mute.
I gotta watch it like this. Gotta turn off the lights and
But the Alabama games, both of them, the LSU game at home, the Kansas, Tennessee, North Carolina games, I will go back and watch those when at some point, just like we do throughout the summer, and pull stuff up and watch old clips and stuff, and add those games to that list. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. It was the best team that hadn't won a title, and it was 2 Kentucky teams. It was 4 teams they had on there. They had
I saw that
2010 Kentucky, 2015 Kentucky, Carolina the year with Carter and Jameson and Brendan Haywood, and
it was UNLV, wasn't it? The one I saw was UNLV in '91.
Yes.
Best. You can go on and on. Best team to not win a championship of Kentucky, probably the 2015. I mean, 38-1 had really, I went back and just kind of looked at some of those games. They took the LSU game at LSU was close. That was a 2-point game, but they really handled their business. I would talk about 97 Kansas. I think as far as a team, because you always have these teams like a St. Joe's with Jameer Nelson, like a Wichita State with Fred Van Vliet. Those are good teams with gaudy records, but like Gonzaga last year, no, I know they had the records and all that kind of stuff, but best teams not to win, I would not put those teams on the list. Probably.
Not a heavy hit like this.
Yeah, 94 North Carolina, the defending champs, adding in. I think that was the one they were talking about. That's the one with Jameson and Carter. Not Jameson and Carter. That was the one in '94. They added Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace to the defending champs.
Okay.
And and that team lost in the second round to Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a fun game to play. But as far as Kentucky teams not to win it, 03 was very, very good. That's one of those teams that kind of forgotten about. 97.
7 was,
If you look back at that team had some good moments.
mm-hmm.
From dog walking Villanova and Tim Thomas at Rupp Arena. That was a fun moment. Ron Mercer's on that list of dudes we need to talk about more. I mean, he was All-American, and it's like, we kind of forget about that. But the 97 squad, obviously 2010 with the John Wall team, that team. I'm trying to think. Other than that, maybe 93. That team. Some of the older folks would say 84. Outside of the 3 for 34 performance, that was a good team. But that's not unusual. I think a lot of schools.
The way back, was it 70? Was it friends of the show, Dan Issel and Mike Pratt? I think they lost to Artis Gilmore or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mike Casey got hurt. It was like in a car wreck, or they would have had a big 3. Casey was hurt, and so Pratt and Issel, didn't make it to a Final Four, as loaded as they were back then. So the older ones would probably even throw them in the mix too. I think it was 1970 team. Louis Dampier was in there, mixed in there, and some of them years too. And so
there's a lot of teams, and again, when you have these conversations, Kentucky fans, we've had more good than bad. Yeah. We've had way more good memories in the tournament than bad. Sometimes this stuff happens, and when it does,
you just gotta roll with it, and like you said, it happens. Try not to wallow in it. See, froze up a little bit, but it does happen from time to time, and it kind of is what it is. We've seen it before. It's happened to other places. It's all fun and games when it happens to others, but sometimes it does happen to us, and we have to take our medicine and kind of roll with it. But they'll bounce back. We'll see what Cal continues to do. We got to get TB back here for our last few minutes. But I'm going to pull up. We mentioned it last week. Friend of the show, Jerry Bell, passed away, former Kentucky D lineman. And Dawn Felty, his girlfriend for years and years, she came on the show. We had her on before. Just going to tell everybody the arrangements for Jerry Bell. Going to have 2 different services. One at DeSales High School, where he played high school football. That's Tuesday, April 12th at 6 p.m. DeSales High School Chapel. And they're going to have one at UK as well, Celebration of Life. That is April 16th at 1 o'clock at the K House. So 2 different celebrations of life for Jerry Bell at Louisville, DeSales Stomping Grounds, and then at UK at the K House. So where Don posted that the other day. So I know Freddie Mac is going to be facilitating the one at the K Club. So we mentioned that last week and then didn't know the arrangements, and now the arrangements have been announced. So I wanted to let everybody know that.
Definitely send some prayers up for Bell. That tough loss. But Freddie wrote a very beautiful piece to him on KSR. And again, the wins and losses may not have been there for Kentucky football, but we've had some good dudes come through the program, and Jerry Bell's one of them.
And Emmitt Smith talks about one of the hardest hits he took in college from one Jerry Bell when the Gators were in town, and Jerry broke through the line and blew up the eventual NFL all-time leading rusher. So yeah, and we've heard some of those good stories when they came on. You know, with Freddie telling them. I mean, the one he put in the piece, he talked about the first time he met him when he rode up in the hoopty with LL Cool J blasting.
Yeah.
This is gonna be my roommate. Okay, so yeah, it was fun to be able to reminisce. This is the time of year when you don't sweat it, but everybody else does. But how's the roster gonna look? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? The dominoes always fall. Everything always happens when it happens. So Dante Allen transferred, went to the portal. Ty announced that he put his goodbye out to the BBN on social media. Thanked everybody, his players, coaches, parents, and so he's gonna move on to the league. As pretty much most everybody expected. There's a few that got their hopes up when his dad tweeted out year one in the books. They're like, year one? Oh, does that mean possibly a year two? Oh,
we don't have to do this. Look, I got too much else to juggle in my life to be worried about. Look, the team is going to be the team. I just, when it comes to recruiting and all that, I'm glad people do keep up with it. I can't do it. I don't have the bandwidth for it. Is Oscar coming back? I don't know.
Now I hope they fix his money situation. Just for anybody from out of the country coming and playing athletics, they need to fix that visa stuff to where this shouldn't have to be a stressful decision for him. I will say that. I hate the fact that it has to be stress filled because I don't know if my NIL stuff with UK is going to be straight.
Yeah.
My draft status, he shouldn't have to worry about that. He should just be able to cash them big old tires checks or whoever the Porsche, whoever, without any red tape. And I hate he's having to have so much red tape just because he's from out of the country. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that should be something that should be a fix, but we know how bureaucracies do work. But I can't keep up with who's coming, who's going.
Right. It always falls into place. It always falls into place. There's all the hand wringing. And look, like you said, we don't tell people how to fan. If you want to wring your hands, and I think it was a Cal Tucker that said there's 1 million people in the portal, and UK fans want 500,000 of them. I think that's what he put out on Twitter. And that's I'm not gonna look at what this guy did. We don't even know if he's coming or not. I'm not looking at his stats of getting the conference when he was out in the Big West or when he was in the Mountain West against, Utah State and he did it. I'm like, if he comes, he comes. And we always been that way. But, if others want to just kind of hang on to every single millisecond of it, that's fine.
It's bad enough when you got to keep up with the high school kids, but also got to keep up with, I don't know who BYU's leading rebounder was, and I don't want to know that. Like there's just look, maybe it's because I'm getting old. I can't keep up with this kind of stuff. So whatever the sport is, look, if they're wearing blue and white with Kentucky on the chest, I'm a root for them. I'm all in. Mm-hmm. Be it basketball, be it track, be it whatever. I've got too much going on to have to keep up with that stuff as well. But some people do, and if that's what they want to do, that's fine. That's just not what I do.
Exactly. It's about to thunderstorm like crazy out here. There's nothing on Iowa, but it was 80 today, and it's supposed to snow Saturday. So it's still don't know what it wants to do out here. But I'm not, we ain't got nothing like y'all got, but it's already.
It gets wild out here, man. It's I think there's still snow in the forecast. I'm over it. This is as far north as I want to go, because if it's worse than this, I'm out. I'm over this. I'm sitting here in my hoodie right now. I don't like it. It's windy. We had like 45-mile-an-hour winds. I don't like it. I'm not built for this. I'm from the South.
You don't want to go to Edmonton or Winnipeg anytime soon. Is that what you're saying?
No, man. No, I don't like it. give me something. This is the time of year. It's the best to be in Kentucky, getting ready for the Derby. Everybody gets happy. we're a few weeks out from Thunder over Louisville kicking that off. I'm gonna miss that though. Gonna miss it.
That's right, it is, and that's what we'll, because this is April the 6th. So yeah, already less than a month away. I'm not sure what the exact date the Derby falls on this year, but it's right around the corner for real. So yeah.
It's going to be the 7th.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be the 7th.
All right.
So the Thunder will be on the 23rd. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. That's, like I said, the best time to be in Louisville. Everybody's happy and everybody's price gouging. That's. I'm not going no club with no $30 cover charge. I don't roll like that. It was free last week. It don't need to be $30-$40 this week.
Yeah, exactly. So man, we had a ball like we always do. Tigers trying to play in the Masters or giving it a go.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. And on the UK front, Jensen Castle played in the Augusta Women's National Amateur this past weekend. So it was cool seeing all the videos that the Kentucky Golf account on Twitter put out of her just walking around the course and chipping and putting and practicing and all that. So we talking more golf.
That's everything. There's a lot of stuff to pay attention to. I know with the spring game coming up on Saturday, folks are focused on football, and I get that, and there should be some excitement. But there's still other teams that are playing. Baseball is kind of finding its groove. Softball as well. I just saw the men's tennis team is number 10 in the country. I didn't know that the men's soccer team is changing to the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
So and that team's been really, really good. They were a Sweet 16 team this past year. So there's a lot of things to pay attention to beyond just football and men's basketball.
That's it. We'll talk a little football next week and hopefully have a football guest. But like you said, there's still, and you advocate all cats, everything. We talking golf right now and tennis, and we talk rifle when they do well, and so we try to hit them all and keep our eyes, juggling, multitasking as far as
and it's a lot. There's stuff I miss. I'm not trying to say I catch every single thing a Kentucky student athlete does, but I do follow along and try to be abreast of different things. So go Cats.
Exactly. And even though my team is nowhere near the playoffs, I'm still NBA playoffs. I've watched that religiously, so I'll still be watching the late games, the Eastern Conference games, the late night Western Conference first round games. Whoever is matched up, Memphis and whoever, Phoenix and whoever. I'm still gonna be watching all that. I've come to terms with my team. My team's out and been tanking, but I'm still going to tune in for the playoffs all the way till June. So
I'm going to tune in, but not as much as I would if the Lakers were playing. I may give up on some games.
That's fine. I understand. Oh man, have fun as always. Appreciate you hopping on here and doing all these episodes we done, and
thank Bradley
McKee for sure. And definitely going to get him back, because we get that conversation going again about, getting deep into the basketball a little bit and what the off season's like for him, because he's nonstop for all the sports, and then we'll see see what he's got going on as he's raising a near 1-year-old in addition to the 2 teenagers. So.
That sounds like a nightmare to me. I'm glad he's having fun, but man, I'm to that point. I can't have, little babies crying and stuff. What do you want? Point to what you want. I can't figure out what this is. You crying, you upset. I'm upset too.
Hey.
Now we've all upset. See, I've reached that stage in my life. I am too old for kids and way too young for grandkids. So I'm just at that keep your kids away from me stage. I got my 16-year-old, my 13-year-old. Like, look, text me whatever it is you want. And worst, I'm trying to figure out what does emoji mean? What does it? What does emoji mean? What's this? And in teens, they love to see those memes. Like I forget what meme my youngest sent to me, but it turned out to be like something like, "Where's the beef?" And I'm like, "You can't meme me with something I was here for. Like, what are you doing?" Are gonna explain to me there was a meme with MC Hammer. I was like, I was here for Hammer Time. You can't tell me about no Hammer Time. I had the Hammer pants and the shiny shoes. What are you talking about? Did you see this meme? Get this meme out of my face. See, I'm old and crotchety. That's why I don't need another kid.
Little Woody's lady. Yes. Just stay off of Terry's lawn too. Get off of TV.
Yeah, don't bring me this. and as Bradley was talking, I'm thinking about my parents, because remember, there's a 17-year gap between me and my brothers. So they was out the house, and my parents had a 10-month-old.
Man.
Woo!
Because you and my Kate, but you got her beat because she was 10 years younger than her sister. So you were full 17. They are graduating, and
they was out of the house, fam. And look, I'm gonna tell you, my dad told me he was 40 when I was born, right? He said to me, as I'm getting older and having these talks, I think I was in high school. He said, "Look, this is not your fault, but I'm too old for this. You get one warning. Whatever the rule was, you get one, and then I got to go to the but. Like I can't nickel and dime like I did in my younger days. You get one warning." So that was how it went, man.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, man, we done had another fun episode. Y'all check it out on Roku. You can watch it on Roku. We throw it up on YouTube as well. But go to Roku, go to BS3 Network, type in BS3 TV, and we'll get it out wherever you listen as well. So if you want to listen, if you want to watch and or listen, whatever you want to do, it's all here for you. And we look forward to doing it again next Wednesday. TV man, enjoyed it. Hope you have a good rest of the evening. You and Sammy and Kate. Everybody be safe up there, man.
Yeah, you do the same, man. We'll do it again next week.
All right, and we will hit the little outro, and out we will go, y'all. Appreciate everybody.